Howdy, soldiers. Everybody get ready for some good ASMR. Oh, that's that good shit right there. Not sponsored. Also, how do we feel about this shirt? It's very, like, chic peasant. It's very art student on a safari. It's very adorable painter's assistant. I was talking with a friend the other day about some books that we both read and how we rated it based on our version of what we hold important in a story. And I started thinking about what I constitute as a 5-star read. Because I am fairly stingy when it comes out to handing 5-star reviews. You know, it's a very exclusive club, is Rachel's 5-star Goodreads list. So I thought it would be kind of fun to do a video about why I rated certain books 5 stars, and then I thought about some books that I have that I would have rated 5 stars if not for certain things, so they now lay at a very respectable 4 stars. I know the way that I read and rate books is going to be very different from yours, so let me know down below. How do you rate yours? Because like one of my 5 stars I know is not going to be on everybody's 5-star list. So without further ado, grab a drink, grab a snack, let us begin. So I tend to rate my books in 5 ways, with a sliding scale for each denomination of them. That being character development, world building, plot, pacing, and overall vibe. So I kind of think about my ratings for each of those 5 and then add them up. So if I really like a book's plotline, but maybe the romance is lacking, I'm going to detract a couple points. But if maybe the ending is a little bit iffy, but I still feel so many feelings, maybe that will bump it up. So the first book I want to use an example of something that I gave 5 stars to is, to no one's surprise, 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Everybody and their mother's cat has given this book 5 stars. But here's why I did. First of all, super cool world building. Fantastic pacing, so even when we had a slower moment, it never felt like a slow scene. Great character introductions, and characters that developed all at the same pace, which is very hard to do, especially with a large cast like this one. Everybody's moral flaws were explored, and everyone got an equal amount of screen time. In this book, even though I did really like the world and the plotline of this heist, it was the characters that made this 5 stars for me. If we had gotten a fast-paced heist novel, but it was just action after action and we never knew any of the characters, and maybe we only focused on Kaj and Inej, I would detract a star for it because I wasn't seeing the whole picture. But as we know, Leigh Bardugo is descended from an eldritch god, and she did a fantastic job with this one. The second book I want to talk about is one that I know that a lot of people definitely have not given 5 stars to, but I did because it made me feel all the feelings, and that was The Starless C by Erin Morgenstern, aka my favorite book ever! This book is super freaking weird. It's written very overly prose-y. There's a lot of weird stuff with time and dreams, and there's a lot of confusing plot lines because things overlap. So the characters were good. They were fine. They all developed normally. I rooted for everybody. I liked everybody there and involved. The building of worlds in this really was so cool, especially when you're messing with time as she's wont to do. So we got a bunch of interesting world building kind of all over the place, but that was okay because it was so many different worlds. And a lot of them got ample amounts of screen time, and even the ones that were just mentioned in like fleeting passage, that was okay because they didn't mean a lot to the story, because the more that you focus on something, the more important it should be to the reader. But see, I really like this dark academia, libraries outside of space and time, overly metaphorical and maybe a little like metaphysical. That's my jam. So of course I'm gonna like it more than somebody who fantasy isn't their jam. Even though this ending definitely could have been stronger, I still gave this 5 stars based on the way that it made me feel, because when I finished this book, I felt like my chest had been cracked open. So this is a shaky 5 stars, but it is a 5 stars nonetheless for me. And the last book I want to talk about I gave 5 stars to is the most recent one, and that is this beautiful copy of The Faithless Hawk by Margaret Owen. This is a sequel to The Merciful Crow, and the reason I gave this one 5 stars is because she took what she started and she ramped it up. This also involves things that I really love, so I might be a little biased, like bone magic, teeth magic, court intrigue, people pretending to be other people. And that's like a 4 stars right there. But I found what was really great about it is that the pacing of the discovery of things was especially well done. And she took moments or scenes or lines or ideas from her first book, and then she made them bigger in this book. And that was what was so exciting about this ending. So while this is a fantastic world and like a really cool case system and really interesting new magic plotline, but the way that she explored her world made me give it the 5 stars. So this one is mostly based off of plot. Ooh, okay, carbonation break. Okay, now we are going to talk about the 4-star books that I have. And I specifically want to talk about these ones because when I started reading them or kind of went into them, I expected to give them 5 stars based on what I knew about the author or the plot. But for some reason or another, I ended up docking a star and they are not in the exclusive club. They're not on the list. The bouncer won't let them in. So the first one I want to talk about is Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. This was a dystopian sci-fi superhero novel and I was on bored. Oh, this was so good until maybe like 3/4 of the way through because this book has such a pacing issue. There's also a major lack of character development from the main character, which is odd. I felt there was more character development with the side characters. But that being said, we focused so much on the main character that we didn't really get equal amounts of screen time with other people, which is fine because it is mainly on the main character, but I should still feel more connected to her despite the fact that she is supposed to be morally gray. So while this book is very weird, it was a genre mash that worked, and I really enjoyed her writing style, which is why I thought I was going to give it 5 stars until the ending, but then I just couldn't do it. It explored magic and mental health and morally gray characters, but it got to the point where there was 20 pages of this book left and the climax of the story hadn't happened yet. And that really shouldn't happen with a standalone. So I do think this is actually my favorite of Veronica Roth's books, but it's still only a 4-star. My second 4-star read is a very pretty cover, and that is All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. This has some great characters. I really love the development of the romance. There's some blood and bone magic, which I super love. World building was pretty good. I could have done with a little less because it does explain like multiple kingdoms around the sea, and I think maybe focusing in a little smaller would have helped her out. All that aside, this book has a tone problem. One minute we were being all coy and nervous about being crowned queen in front of a bunch of people, and then we're torturing a guy to death. Ooh, now we have a magical enchanted boat and a new mermaid friend. Let's cut somebody's hand off. Like, my god, Adeline, your target audience is 14. Jesus Christ. As someone in her 20s who read this, I'm used to that kind of thing, and I really did enjoy it. I thought it was like, ooh, so I love that horror magic so much. Just the fact that it jumped back and forth from such opposite ends of the spectrum of like, oh, cutesy, like love stuff, oh, being nervous, oh, like coming into your powers, and then like death and blood and gore and like manipulation through what I was like, whoa, geez, like, ma'am, stay in your lane. This book either should have been aged up or toned down because I think if it had been aged up, I would have given it the 5 stars for having that consistent tone. And my third 4-star, I know people are gonna get mad at me, and I'm honestly, like, I get it. I'm mad at me for not being able to give this 5 stars in my own brain. However, let's talk about Call Down the Hawk by Maggie Stiefvater. But Rachel, you're saying you love Maggie Stiefvater. What are you talking about? This is slander. Hey, guess what? This is more ASMR for you. It's possible to like a book by an author and then not like a book by the same author. This new Dreamer trilogy is mostly focusing on Ronan, who is a main character in the Raven Boy series. And Ronan's character in particular is very stubborn, he's very tough, he doesn't open up. So I understand why, especially in this book, we are put behind such a wall in his head and he does have slow growth and development. But at the same time, I didn't really like the other characters. The other new Dreamer who's introduced, don't like her. I know she's supposed to be a little unlikable, but like there's nothing to redeem her for me, so I just don't like her and I didn't want to read her chapters. Like, I never believed her motivations, and even Ronan had some questionable qualities that I feel like at this point of his life he may have worked through already. Maybe that's me, but So though I do still care for Ronan and I love his brothers so much, I love his family dynamic, just something overall didn't quite grasp me like the magic of the Raven Boy series. Also, speaking of that, Parrish. Like, where you at, bruh? There's not enough Adam Parrish in this. I think everyone's life needs a little bit more Adam Parrish. Also, I feel like I'm docking an entire star for the weird zombie Cyclops crabs. Don't ask. I feel like I gave most of the Raven Cycle books 4 and 5 stars, so like, it tracks, but I just was a little bit more disappointed in this one. So there you have it. There are a bunch of books I gave 5 and 4 stars to, and why I did. See, this hairstyle started off cute, but now I'm just a sweaty mess, and I feel like I'm wearing a linen tent. I don't do well in heat. I'm Canadian. Please leave down below how you rate books because obviously, like I said, everyone's gonna rate stuff differently. And I know some people that just read them and are just like, yeah, it was good, 5 stars. Or I know some people are very particular about each and every star that they give out. I also am getting a lot pickier with the books that I keep on my shelves because before, again, when I worked at the bookstore, or even now just like going to thrift stores and like, you know, grabbing a bunch for a couple dollars, I was running out of room and I really only wanted to keep things that like made me feel feelings. Not anything that's not like really good or hits all the same points that I mentioned before about world building, character development, plot, and feelings and whatever. Those go back to the store and I'm not sorry about it. I mean, it's a great problem to have, but I think I need to turn my ceiling fan on to maximum whirlage and go have a cold shower or something. I feel so disgustingly sweaty. I hope all of you are keeping cool. You know where to click like the video, you know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!